In this week's episode of JK's Garage, we talk the ideal two-car garage. What would that look like? Now, this has been a hot topic of discussion with my buddies for quite some time. Now, we all can have our dream two-car garage, but we've got to be realistic. I mean, budget plays a huge part of this. So there has to be some ground rules when we talk about what the ideal two-car garage would look like. Firstly, the budget should be R1,000,000 for both vehicles. And I think that is realistic. To achieve that, there should be a joint income from yourself and your partner. The other consideration is the family. Generally, we'll say there are 2 kids associated with this family. And I think the other consideration should be that as you have 2 kids, you should have an active-ish lifestyle. I'm talking about taking the kids to a game of hockey, cricket, cycling, possibly a weekend away to the bush, something of that sort. Oh, and that garage should consist of an SUV and a mid-size 4-door sedan. So let's start with the SUVs. Now, there's quite a number of SUVs out there. And as our budget is sitting at R1,000,000, theoretically 500 for each vehicle, and you should be fine. So SUVs, I went online, looked at the various platforms out there advertising vehicles, and I narrowed it down to 3 options. So first of all is the Mitsubishi Pajero. I looked at the 3.2 diesel, very good vehicle there. I also looked at the Discovery 4 3-liter diesel and the Toyota Prado. Now, the reason why I looked at these specific vehicles is that I've seen a fair amount of the Toyota and the Discovery out on the roads, and I thought why I included the Pajero was because, well, I've always admired it for one, and secondly, I said, okay, fine, that's I think a dark horse, if you want to call it that, so I've added that in to the mix. So let's start off with that Toyota Prado. I've had a look online and I found a 2015 model that came in at 450k, so under budget. I mean, like I said, we allocated 500k. Spec-wise, the Toyota Prado has a 4-cylinder 3-liter turbo diesel. It makes a decent 120 kilowatts with 400 newton meters of torque and has a claimed fuel economy of 4.5 liters per 100. Let's start with the good for the Toyota Prado. So when I got into this vehicle, it's absolutely plush interior, leather all over, premium quality finishes. You really feel comfortable in this vehicle, covering large amounts of mileage. The other thing that struck me about this vehicle was there was plenty of space, especially if you've got a family, 2 kids like we mentioned. That's a prerequisite. Obviously carrying your kids, their luggage, their bikes, their equipment, their cricket gear, hockey, whatever it is, it's got vast amount of space to carry that. On the road, the Prado is a really comfortable vehicle to cover long distances. I remember driving this over a long distance. At the end of my travel, I didn't really feel the hundreds of Ks that I covered. Now, taking the Prado off-road, I was really impressed by its off-road capability. Honestly, you feel like a king, having conquered just about any obstacle that comes your way. I have seen and met people that have subjected their Prados to a lot more off-road abuse than what I have tested the vehicle on, and I was really impressed by these stories and from what I've seen these vehicles do off-road. So really capable, impressive vehicles off-road. There are proper dials or switches to engage relevant off-road modes, which I much prefer than some of the digital interfaces currently available on some of the modern vehicles. And of course, Toyota's legendary reliability. That 3-liter diesel engine is fantastic. So what's bad about the vehicle? As I said earlier on, this is a large SUV, so it's a cruiser. Guys, it really is not aimed to win any speed records, so please be mindful of that. I've heard a lot of people get into this and expect a lot more on-road performance of the vehicle. 400 newton meters is good enough for a vehicle of this size, considering what it is. When the vehicle is fully loaded, it does tend to be a bit sluggish, so be mindful of that. The other thing is fuel economy. When it's fully loaded under heavy load, this tends to be a very, very thirsty vehicle. So you can expect rather something of around about 15 liters per 100. I've seen and heard again some people say that. With my experience of the vehicle, I was averaging between 11 and 12 per 100 Ks, but again, that's not under a heavy load.